What I've got for you today is supposed to be a really fun series of StarCraft 2. It's time for a Zerg versus Terran, where our Zerg player, right over here in the bottom right corner of the map, right at the very beginning of the match, is already sending out one of those drones. With the yellow Zerg pieces, we have none other than Fjant. I'll talk about him a little bit more in just a second. His opponent, though, all the way in the upper left from South Korea, with the red SCVs. We have one of the world's greats, and he goes by the name of Kijkwijzer. Now, where is that drone going? Fjant, in case you're unfamiliar, I mean, he's been playing this game for quite a long time, but he's still very young. I think he's like maybe 19, 18 years old or so. Maybe 20 at this point, I'm not exactly sure. Either way, he's been playing this game for a while, and he has climbed up to, yeah, really be considered to be one of the stronger players on the European server. Obviously, in Europe, we have players like, for example, Serral, for example, Raynor, we have Lambo, right? There's a bunch of players that sort of take the crown as far as high-ranking Zergs go, but Fjant is certainly a name that you do want to keep in mind. As we're making this video, he is considered to be the #1 player from Sweden. Admittedly, there's not as many high-ranked players from Sweden, but that, of course, is always a nice statistic to have, to be considered to be the very best from your home country. Now, Kijkwijzer does not see this proxy hatchery. Are we sending the boys? We are sending the boys. So this is going to be a spine-crawler rush. When's the last time we've seen a spine-crawler rush at this level? Kijkwijzer just now, though, popped down to the low ground and decides to not make the command center there. Instead, we're going to be building it over on the high ground. There will also be a bunker on the back of this. Keep in mind that, well, with not the most recent patch, but the patch before that, hatcheries are now 275 minerals, meaning that technically this is slightly easier to execute. Now, sadly, that patch also coincided with Dark going to the military, and I feel like we never really saw what the real potential of proxy hatcheries has become ever since. But maybe Fjant can sort of change that vibe a little bit. A couple of Zerglings do pop out. He kills the SCV just seconds before the bunker is done. I would imagine we are going to be finishing that bunker in just a second. But what exactly can we do, though, with these spine crawlers, right? Because, yeah, maybe finishing the bunker would actually be a mistake. Canceling it and getting still some of your money back might be a little bit better. All right. Salvaging, of course, no longer a guarantee. Brenda is going to start working away at as many of those units as she can hit across that wall off. You cannot repair a structure that isn't yet done. So this bunker is actually a real weak point. And there we go. It goes down seconds before it would be finished. Now the Zerglings are flooding into the main base. And just like that, I think Fjant may have done it. I mean, you have to kill a lot more, though. This is by no means game over if you can just stabilize. But the command center needs to be finished, and obviously all of these Zerg units need to be shooed away. SCVs are going to sacrifice themselves. Fjant is sitting on just 13 workers in total. He does not have Zergling speed. He does not have anything other than what we see right over here on the screen, and then the very little amount of mining that he started the game off with. Command center is going to finish. The SCV just will. Okay, remove the scaffolding. Saves the SCV as well. So that's a big deal. If somehow, some way, well, we see the Terran player stabilize, he should be able to pull out ahead on just mule economy alone. But those Pokeboys, man, they're putting in so much work. SCVs are trying to go for the mass repair. Now, they did successfully body block a lot of the Zerglings. Brenda over here is still shooting spines at whatever she can hit. Now the SCV losses, as Brenda does go down, now the SCV losses really do become problematic. Still, though, we have 3 Marines and a Reaper. There's a new unit showing up, too. Not enough energy for a transfusion on her just yet. So instead, we're going to go for a little bit of creep spread. I think this is over. I think Fjant has just successfully cheesed out one of the world's great Terrans. With a build order that I haven't really seen much in 2025. I wanted to say I've not seen it a single time in 2025. But someone will probably fact check me, and I watch a lot of StarCraft, so maybe it's happened before. But this strategy is incredibly uncommon. And with the creep slowly spreading forward, the spine crawler that's still left over should be able to get indeed within a range of the orbital command itself. Zergling numbers are still growing. And I think, honestly, we are witnessing Cure right now processing the loss. These Terran units are good, but the Terran economy is, yep, destroyed. Well, I just learned by Googling Fjant's name that apparently it's the Swedish word for dork. For someone who's a bit of a clown, someone who is joking around and not taking things too seriously. I did not know that. But the game number 1 strategy certainly lived up to the username. I did cast some games as well, actually, at Home Story Cup. Previous Home Story Cups, I think it's actually been like 2 or 3. Either way, Fjant has joined us for several casts in the past. Very high energy, very funny as well. And also extremely knowledgeable, obviously, about the game. But there is quite a big difference between people that compete in tournaments and people that are pretty good at the game, right? Like, I feel like there's oftentimes a disconnect. So I've hit Grandmaster in StarCraft 2 many times with Zerg, but I definitely don't have the knowledge that someone like Fjant has. And I'm sure there is a very significant difference as well with what Fjant knows about the game and then what, for example, the likes of Cyril know about the game. The jump from being good at the game to being great at the game is very, very significant. Now, Cure decides to mix things up right here on the Old Republic, which is game number 2 in this best of 3. He decides to go for a double barrack start. This is a much safer build, although obviously it's not like the previous game was particularly unsafe. The thing is, right, okay, Cure could have done a couple of things. If Cure decided to go for a double barrack start, that build order from Fjant would have been an absolute disaster for Zerg. Likewise, if we would have seen an SCV scout, that build would have likely not worked out nearly as well, because the bunker on the low ground would have finished, the bunker that was protecting the high ground would have finished, the command center would not have been delayed. It's a lot of those little things that would have added up that would ultimately allow the Terran player to get, for example, Cyclones out or a Hellion a little bit quicker, and all of it just adds up to the point where Zerg cheeses like that don't really work very well. I like, though, that Fjant has decided to only, well, do it once. Right, now we're playing a much more standard early game. Cure, by the way, not opting to go for any of the Reaper shenanigans that we normally see. Is this a high ground? No. No, I don't think so. These maps, of course, are mostly unexplored. This, I'm assuming, is the Pervert Pillar for the Overlord. This particular series was recently played as part of the Monday Night Weekly. Well, as of me casting it, it was played last Monday. What are we doing with the SCV, though? The maps are still very new, but I would imagine at this point in time, the players should have had a little bit of practice that they could have gone for. Are we bunker rushing? Is that what we're doing? Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, why would you bring the space construction vehicle? In the meantime, Jimmy and the boys have arrived. Zergling speed has only just begun. Another Overlord is going to get popped out of the sky, and this game is going so much better so far here for Cure. Here come the Queens yet again, though. They're a little scary, right? Very beefy. And they will manage to shut this down for now. The real problem here for Cure, though, is that he needs to get these units home. If somehow some way the Zerglings with Ling speed get us around, it becomes rather problematic. And that is why Fjant is also sort of looking around here, trying to make sure that he knows where these units are located. Quick reaction speed. Metabolic boost is now seconds from being done. We do not have a Hellion follow-up or anything along those lines. As a matter of fact, this follow-up here from the Terran is very interesting. But that'll be the end of those Marines. Okay. I honestly don't mind this anymore for Fjant. The thing is, Cure is not following this up with a triple Rex, which is what we see quite a lot against Protoss. He's not following this up with like a 2-1-1 either, so a double Rex with 1 factory, 1 starport. We have a quadruple Rex opener with quick Stimpack, quick combat shields. Which means that there won't be any medevacs, and it means that the Marines are going to hit a big power spike when both of those upgrades are done. This is being read perfectly right now by Fjant. He doesn't know precisely what he's playing against, but I really do like this Baneling Nest timing. We may be looking at a very quick 2-0 right here for the Swede. Can we actually get this done? The thing is, Cure is going to go for a push with just a whole lot of boys. That's the plan. The boys have been scouted. The Baneling nest has been made. The creep threat is a little lackluster in this section of the map, but without medevacs, it'll be very difficult to reposition anything. Now we have an NG bay, now we have a factory on the back of this as well. As long as we go for instant Banelings, right now, please. Yeah. I think you can hold this as the Zerg. Zerglings around the back, Queens and Banelings at the front. Make sure that the Zerglings will prevent the escape on these units. Now, don't engage off creep. I think you only engage on creep. Oh, he wants to grab them, though. Is this an overextension by Fjant? He does not want to have these units go home. Kjordo has got some really good stutter step micro. Okay, he feels like he's got the units cornered. You know what? He does. But is it a good idea to actually engage against the Jimmies? More and more links, by the way, are being made. Fjant may have just tunnel visioned a little too much. He's reconsidering. He knows he's got these units trapped, but he also realizes it's going to be tough to get much done. So instead, we're committing to a full counterattack. It takes 5 Banelings to blow up a supply depot. Yeah, we're actually going fully all in with this. Cure is still anticipating a move out over here, but I like this play. Although I think we should have had more Banelings. Yeah, I think we should have had more Banelings. If there were like 10 Banelings here? Dude, strategically everything Fjant's been doing here is perfect. But he needed more Banes. Okay, now we're awkwardly going back to drone production. Now we're sacrificing a bunch of Lings here as well to the Marine meat grinder. Cure, by the way, not really skipping a beat as far as macro goes. He's still in a weird spot. All right, here we go. Lings do get the wraparound, reinforcing Marines from the high ground. Yeah, I don't like this anymore. No. Good attempt there by Fjant. And I think he had his opponent exactly where he needed him. Could have been a 2-0 win by now. Instead, we're looking at a follow-up attack from Cure that is going to be extremely dangerous. +1 is gonna be done. It'll make these unupgraded Zerglings significantly more vulnerable. Siege tanks are here. We have medevacs up in the sky as well. And now suddenly, yeah, unupgraded Ling Bane is looking like a pretty pathetic unit comp. Lairs coming up, but obviously Baneling speed is not going to be done anytime soon. No Evo chambers whatsoever. The economy here of the Zerg is at 47 drones. I think this push is going to be a difficult one to hit, but maybe... Yeah, okay, maybe engaging before the Terran sieges up the tank might be the right play. The engagement is going to have to be perfect for the Zerg to have any chance to stay in. He's hoping to catch some of the reinforcing units, but Cure is cleverly using the medevacs to safely transport the troops. Except for Jimmy. Oh no, Jimmy got picked up as well in time. Double medevac drop heads on over to the main. We have the siege tank over here protected, and the double medevac drop as well inside of the natural expansion. Through the power of multitasking, can Cure obtain the victory? Baneling speed is coming now. Fort Hatchery is building up. We have Liberators joining in the fray too. So far, the Zerg is forced to split their units, but we don't really have a whole lot of anti-air other than the Queens. So that's exactly why these ladies are waiting. Can he snatch the medevacs? I think he will be able to. This is quite costly. That'll be about 20 supply down the drain for the Terran player. Medevacs over here, not microed as perfectly. Looks like maybe 2 Queens ended up going down in this location. Maybe... Oh, it's actually just 1. Now the Liberators are here, though. What you need against this is more Queens or more Ravagers. We have a Spore Crawler building. Obviously, Liberators unable to hit structures. Reinforcing Terran units have now also arrived over at the siege tank. What a scrappy game. I mentioned it recently, right? That I kind of missed these early game exchanges. And that maybe the patch is just not very good for it. But, I mean, at least these two are showing us that it's still certainly a viable style to go for. Honestly, for both sides. It may be better, though, for Cure to just take it easy for a while, right? He's got this this little army sitting out here. I wouldn't even mind it if he decided to unsiege and go home. I know it may feel a little bit weird because he's got the Zerg exactly where he needs him, but he's got the better economy. You may as well just max out and then go for an all-out attack. Maybe let the Zerg player come to you instead, and that's exactly what Fjant is looking to do. It's only a portion of the Terran units right now dedicated to defense, but it is 4 siege tanks. Medevac drop from earlier has once more unloaded. Is there enough for the Terran to hold on against this Ling Bane attack? Well, the Marines have nowhere to run. Siege tanks on the high ground are extremely nice, though. And now with the other units of the Terran from the siege tank defense running towards that base as well, there's just no way for the Zerg to hold on. And even though this attack over here was successful, there was just no way to deal with the Terran's macro. And that means that this series is going to be decided on the lovely map Mothership. One of my personal favorites from the Team Liquid map contest. I really do hope that we're going to be seeing this on the official StarCraft ladder before, well, the end of the year, probably. Kind of depends on whenever Blizzard decides to have a look at StarCraft again, because I'm fairly certain that at this point, the voting is... So, the Team Liquid map contest, it runs into a couple of different stages. So, obviously, there's, like, the map submission phase, and then there's, like, a judge, like a jury, then there's the tournament phase, and then at some point, there's, like, a public vote. Either the public voting is going on as we speak, or it's just wrapped up. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I like this map a lot. I think it's very good. Wouldn't mind seeing the final version here on the StarCraft 2 ladder. Now, it is a 3-player map, meaning that any sort of cheese would likely have to come from the Terran player. Usually on 3- and 4-player maps, Terrans can go for, like, say, proxy barracks right over here in the middle. Because obviously at that point, well, the distance to either the top section, the top spawn, or the bottom spawn is going to be identical. For the Zerg, I don't think it's really manageable at all. Unless you go for very early drone scouts, but yeah, as we've already seen, those early game cheeses are very fragile as it is. But we could still go for something else. You could still go for like a Roach Rush, or... I mean, 2-base Muta is very viable on this map as well, I believe. At least you do have options. Probably not the easiest map, though, for Zerg against Terran, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if, again, the man who's apparently named after a crazy person in Swedish. That's what it says on Wikipedia, anyways. I think Fjant will likely not be... Yeah, he will probably not be too keen to play a straight-up macro game against Cure. Cure really has been very good in TVZ. Historically, Cure has been very good in Terran versus Protoss. For many years, he was considered to be like the best TVP player in the world. At least he was the man that people looked at to get better at the matchup. Since then, I think you can probably call Clem to be the #1 TVP player. I don't really have the stats in front of me, but that's a safe guess. Safety Spore Crawler over here is going to get denied as well. The idea, of course, is to turn it into a little hatchery. Now, interestingly enough, Fjant has already detected that his opponent is not in the top right-hand corner, but he's still taking the base positioned in the direction of the Terran. The norm, for Zergs at least, is to, well, since you have faster moving units, and usually you have more vision than the other two races, you benefit more from expanding away from both the Terran as well as the Protoss. So, to see the Zerg player here expand in the direction of where the Terran player lives is a little bit dangerous. Makes me immediately think, and I wonder if Cure has also got the same idea, that there is something aggressive coming up. So far, the Reaper harassment has been excellent. A lot of low HP units, a lot of cancelled structures. I think 100 minerals down the drain is honestly not that bad. Now the Lings, though, are escaping, and I do not believe that the Reaper, saw it. Zerglings got the first, well, kill on the side of the Zerg. Really just a group of Lings, though, and again, Cure is caught off guard. These games have been incredibly messy. This is rarely something that we see Terran players get surprised by. Mostly, though, because Zerg players rarely go for these type of Ling like, influxes. So that's 18 links going down. Honestly, the crisis management right there from Cure was just about perfect. It really did look, and maybe this is also the reason why we rarely see these Ling attacks at this level of StarCraft, at the highest level. Maybe that's why. Because even though Cure didn't see it, the micro against that Reaper, pushing it to the left, moving with the Zerglings around the top lane, that was all really good for the Zerg. It kind of looked for a second like Zerg was going to be able to overwhelm just off of that alone, and that all the Hellions were going to die, and then the SCVs to boot. But then, in the end, it is a 1 Marine and 1 SCV going down for, I think, 17 Zerglings in total. Alright, what do we have in the meantime on the other side of the map? Ooh, alright. Apparently we're going to fight fire with fire. This is another old school push. This will be Hellbat Marauder. So we have concussive shells. And we have a quick armory. But no +1, no stim pack, no combat shields, no nothing. Will this be something that the Zerg player is prepared for? Baning Nest is coming up. Fjant is unable to really get any sort of scouting information. Overlord in the top right-hand corner is prepared to maybe pick up a late-game medevac drop, but at this rate, we are never going there. I love the landed Viking in the mix, and now the Hellbats decide to morph in, and they are going to be so freaking powerful when it comes to roasting the drones and the Zerglings. Yeah, this third base is certainly toast, but honestly, I wonder if Cure can just push even further. He doesn't really need to. Just killing the third base alone, I think, will be enough. A lot of queens available. Medevac boost away. There's the hatchery going down. And I think at this point, it's all about maximizing the damage on these units. You can split with Marines against Banelings. You can do the same thing with Hellbats too. Stimpack or not. Alright, and now we have some additional barracks building. There is a third command center. That's the first third command center in this series so far. Hellbat's waiting in the line of sight blockers here too, which I do quite love. A little bit of splitting again against slow Banelings. Oh, okay. Fjant decides to rip off the Band-Aid. He's got a similar economy if you look at the worker count alone, and obviously he's not in an absolutely unplayable spot, but ZVT is a very momentum-driven playstyle, right? And he knows that very soon the third base for Terran is going to be secured. Nothing he can do about that. And he knows that very soon Stimpack and +1 are likely going to finish up. Now, in this instance, we actually never had the +1 researching for the Terran. But Fjant was going to have to rebuild his economy while defending a very scary timing attack with Stimpack, and that really never was going to happen. So he decides to rip off the Band-Aid and GG out, and it is going to be a Terran win. 2-1 in the end. But Cure certainly had to fight for that one, and I feel like this series proves to us that you can still go for early game shenanigans as both the Terran as well as the Zerg. It doesn't have to be this, like, I don't know, for example, Solar versus Fjant type of mindset where both players are just trying to go straight to the late game.